Hey everybody, it's your pal Ron Howard from Extreme Sequences, bringing you xLights Insights. It's been a minute. It's been a lot of minutes. As I recover from my medical ordeal, and it's rocked my life just a little bit, but I'm good. I'm healing up. I'm getting more energy. You can always tell when I get a little energy because I get feisty and I start saying things I might regret later. But even if they're the truth, I still might regret them. That's just because that's who I am. But I am here to educate you folks. I have a lot of making up to do. There's been so many changes in xLights. It's been really tough to keep up. I've been sort of hanging out watching Daryl do his gym series on some updates, and I've had some questions for him. And I want to thank Daryl for reaching out to me. I was getting really frustrated with some crashes happening in xLights, and Dan thought I was making it up and just being sort of loopy and crazy, and he could have been right. But Daryl confirmed that I wasn't making it up, that he could reproduce the issue I was having, and because of that, he made a change. And I want to share this change with you that I thought was really cool. Now, I know not everybody goes crazy with shaders and multi-layer effects if you're doing your own thing. But for I would say, the more intense sequencers, myself included, I'm actually more than intense. I'm extreme, I like to think. I was having some issues when I would take shader effects or a combination of effects and arrow these up and down. And so I could arrow a shader effect down 6 layers. And then when I try to do it again, basically xLights gave me the beach ball of hell, and it would sit there. Now, technically, xLights never crashed, but after 4 frickin' minutes, I had to force stop it. I will call that a crash, because I'm not going to wait for 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes for xLights to stop turning the ball and say, oh, sorry, I barfed on myself. No. There were times I let it run 7 minutes. So Daryl was able to reproduce this, and what he did, this great change, and we should thank him for this, is anytime you begin moving an effect up and down, or sideways, I believe, it basically will pause the rendering. The rendering that happens in the background, it will pause that until you're finished, and then it will do the render. So I got in the habit of there it is. Yeah, please allow that. That would be very nice. I got in the habit of selecting the suspend render a lot. So anytime I'm working, or I should say anytime I was working on singing faces or timings, I would click this button down here. And if I wanted to see a render, I'd hit a render. But it would pause all that background render that happens every so often, right? And this was causing issues in xLights. Was it causing it on the Windows side? Probably. It certainly was on my side with a Mac. So I really appreciate that. And this is just one little piece of things that has changed this year. The number of changes is just absolutely crazy from 2024 to 2025. And the number of changes from the beginning of this year to where we are now have just been plentiful. And I'm just going to put this out there. 2025.5 has been the most stable version of xLights I've worked on from 2024 through 2025. The most stable. It just is. And how do I know this? Well, even being sick, I was trying to work on timings and singing faces. Sequencing started this week. My brain allowed me to kind of get into the flow of sequencing. And so this is sort of what I'm going to talk about. I don't want to be really long-winded because that's just how I am sometimes. But again, thanks to Daryl for reaching out to me and saying, hey, what's going on? I hear you got some issues going on. And I really thought that was cool. There's another change that's coming that I talked to Daryl about, and this was in the singing faces. And I'll show you this real quick. We're not going to see it probably until this next release, maybe. But as you know, singing faces if you're using a prop like the GE Spooky Tree or any other prop that has pixels in it, there's a vibrato. The ba. Ooh, I did that. Ah. I don't know what's going on with the hand. Just that's vibrato. A lot of times at the end of a singing note, it's just automatic for some singers, and some singers have the ability to completely control it. And you can make that vibrato sound by control or shift, double click, and you could put in a dash shimmer. And you do that, and now what you get is when you click on this, you see the mouth movement doing the vibrato. Okay, so I'm going to shift double click and get rid of this because I don't know if that's supposed to be there. So one of the habits I've gotten into when I do singing faces, and so far every sequence I'm doing now sort of starts with a singing face, and then I do timings, and then I go into sequencing because it's been therapeutic for me to do that. And then I typically will go back and start doing this double click, shift double click, and then having to just, I'll do the first one, dash shimmer, then I'll copy that, then I'll go in here after the O's, I's, U's, whatever, and paste it in. But I have to do that with each one. So I asked Daryl, I said, is there any possibility we could just right click and have a shimmer as a drop down option? And he came back the next day, he goes, yeah, how does this look? And he showed me a screenshot. I was great. Okay, I said, now I'm going to be greedy. Is there any way possible that we might be able to select multiple at the same time and right click and have the shimmer? And he doesn't think that's going to be a problem, but I'm not going to hold him to it. I'll be happy with just getting one. But again, these are things that'll help out sequencers that work with singing faces that like using the vibrato. And I thought that was really cool. Anyway, let's get back to the sequencing. So I've gone over some things that are going to be happening that I think are pretty cool. So you want a sequence. Matt Raymer said last night in the car, he goes, I'm going to sequence. And I said, I think you should. It's really easy. And the irony behind that is it's as easy as you allow sequencing to be. And I'll be teaching a sequencing hands-on class at Christmas Expo this July, week of 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, all through there. On that Friday, I'm teaching an all-day class, and we will sequence a song, and we'll go over effects. And there are so many enhancements and changes and different ways to accomplish one effect that it's an entire day hands-on. You bring your computers, I'll provide some of the things you'll need, and we're going to get into the nitty and gritty. Can I do an all-day hands-on sequencing on a video? No, I can't. I wouldn't. It wouldn't work. You have to be there. You have to be able to get your mind working different ways. Do you need to be a musician or an actor to sequence? It can help on the musician side, but that's not a hard rule because I can show you ways to get around that. And there are tools that can help with this. And some of these are AI tools that you can learn to use, and I've done other videos on this. So let me just quickly explain my process with this sequence. This is Lady Gaga, Abracadabra. I actually started this in February and thought I would be able to work through my treatments. Yeah, that dog did not hunt, did it? So I've come back to it, finished working on the singing faces, and this last Monday, I think it was, Monday or Tuesday, I began working on sequencing pretty much for the first time for most of this season. And I spent probably 2 or 3 hours looking through, trying to get images, again, using things like ChatGPT and other resources I have. And ChatGPT can be a little rough to work with when there's copyright. And it says, not permissible due to our policies. Then you have to say, okay, great. Find me something that is permissible according to your policies. And then it tries again and gets you something maybe close. But anyway, a lot of times I'll start thinking, what does a song mean? What are some symbolisms I can use? What can I see visually that might help me? So that's one thing. And that takes a few hours. The timings, those take hours. I mean, these timings took hours. I use Moises once again to separate. I get my metronome, my snare, toms, bars, halftime bars, beats, whatever I may need. I'll use Moises. Now, this is very important when you're sequencing, and you're going to use what's built in xLights as beats, and then maybe you're going to use bars. Don't be surprised if they don't line up, but you need to line them up if you're going to use both. And this takes a lot of time. The snares here were not exactly on the metronome. So am I going to change the metronome or am I going to change the snare beats? You need to decide on one and make it your anchor and leave it there. It's better to have something on the beat than maybe behind on a pop song. This is a pop song. It's like 128 beats. I mean, this is a bouncy song, so you want it to be crisp. If it was a Bing Crosby, swelling, things that kind of glide past the bar, that's okay. Let it glide, let it slide. No big deal. But where you have things like toms throughout the sequence, these are meticulously aligned. Well, I would say pretty meticulously aligned to start on the metronome and end on the metronome beat. Okay. And because I have flapping bats in my layout, I make sure to go back and change all these numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or the bars, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will be in halftime. So you can be pretty creative with that. So all of this needs to line up. Now when I click on my snare, you know, the snare beats, I make sure that they line up as well, because a lot of these things are on snares. So if I turn on my metronome and snares, I will go through here and I will make sure that everything is lining up. And if something isn't, if I've got something sticking out like this, I'm going to fix it, because the sequence is worth the effort and time to do it right. Now, if I didn't sell sequences and just wanted to get my show by, maybe I don't worry as much about it, but my OCD kicks in and I'm a lot more pickier now than when I started sequencing, but we have more tool sets to make it easier to do so. Again, snare beats right here that go right into the toms in different colors between the two. So if you want to be a serious sequencer and you want to take your show to the next level, work on the foundation of your sequence. Get a concept, get an idea, think about symbolism, think about telling the story, get your timing tracks done, put some effort into the singing phases. And I used to hate doing singing phases. I like it better now. But again, singing phases still takes time. Even with auto lyrics, it still takes time to dial it in. I wish it was faster, but it's you still got to put the effort in. Okay. So maybe you've done your singing phases, you've got your timings done, you've cleaned everything up. Now it's time to put an effect on the board. What are you going to start with? Well, I tend to look at sequencing, certainly right now as I get back into it. Honestly, what do you want? Should we start with bars, the butterfly, candle, go to the curtain, singing fan? There's a lot of effects to choose from. Which one's going to convey a good story? Well, how do you tell a good story with eaves and verts? Lines that go across, lines that go down, no matter how many lights you have in them. How do you tell a story with that? Well, I think with rhythm. So I like to approach a new sequence when I'm not really sure exactly what I want to do. I know I'll spend some time figuring out what I want to do with colors, and I might actually get some help from a good old chat GPT on some ideas for colors based on maybe the music video and or lyrics, content to better reinforce what the music is about, while still trying to keep it punchy and vibrant. So if I'm starting with the eaves, I'm going to look at rhythm. And I think you should all start practicing this. Turn off the music. Look at any one sequence, turn off the music, and watch the entire show from beginning to end. And see if you can figure out what's happening in the music without hearing it. Now, in the back of your mind, you're already going to know what the song is, so you might actually start sort of putting it together. But if the lights moving if they do not look good without music, you're letting the music convince you that the sequence is better than maybe it is. I know it's a weird thing. I've been saying this for years. People buy sequences with their ears. Start training your eyes to be more critical. Okay? Because it's the lights that are telling the story. The music is there, but the lights is what you spend all your time and money on. The music, you're spending $1.29. Okay? So, and think about effects that can take advantage of timings. Like, here's my timings here. Toms, and I'm using chase from middle. All of these things can work really, really well. Again, this time I'm using metronome because I wanted the pulse of the beat. And then I wanted a section where something was going up doing this, right? So when things go up in pitch, I think they're ascending. When they go down in pitch, I think they're descending. That's how my brain works. So you can get very, very creative with basic, simple use effects like, I don't know, on-off, single strand, VU meter, which I could probably teach a class in VU meter in 8 hours. There is so much in it. But there's also so much more just in the single strand effect. You know, this, you would think I'm just using chases. I'm not using chases that bounce back and left. I'm using the FX, which I think came from WLED. So these are some pretty interesting effects. And the list of things that you can use from the WLED library that's in xLights in the single strand are never ending, it seems. But this is the neat one, just beats per minute. So this is using beats per minute and bouncing back and forth. Very, very simple. But when it does that again in this area, I'm sort of using a different thing. I'm using spirals to go from right to left. But I'm using a pulse, a timing event pulse color metronome. So look, this is such a simple thing to do. If I take this and I X this out, look at this by itself. It's just gliding across, which might look okay. But the moment I put in this pulse and see how it's just pulsing with the colors? Such a simple thing to do. And I'm using the same colors, -1. And it just gives it that little extra pop. Simple, simple. Anyway, I could sit here for hours going over all the rest of this crazy stuff and get into some of the uses of various, layer blendings, which there's plenty of those going on in different parts of the sequence that we could talk about. But if you're new to sequencing, just consider starting off with simple things, but get the foundation there. If you don't have solid timings, it doesn't matter what you put on there. Something's not going to line up. Thank you, guys. Yeah, I know. I totally forgot. Hey, like and subscribe. Hit the like button. Subscribe. All that stuff for the algorithms. And yeah, if you found value in this, hit the like button. If you didn't, then turn me off. Gotta go. See you later. See you next week. I'm Ron. It's been xLights Insights. See ya.